Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Right, so it's finally time to finish our champion ranking series with an updated tier list properly. Before we get there, definitely do not miss out live stream tomorrow. We're going to be giving away over $1,000 together for Prof Hoff. We're going to go live hour and a half before the stream starts. First hour and a half is going to be the meme challenge. The theme of the meme is going to be July 4th memes. You can easily enter that. Just submit all your memes to Oliver Port at Evizone.com, obviously using Evizone as a platform to do so. I will leave a link to video description that will answer any and all questions that you might have in order how to do it, how to register, how to qualify. But it's very easy. Just make a meme in theme of July 4th, send it over to Oliver, and you will qualify. You will be added in the list of memes that we'll show to people. And you guys yourselves are going to end up voting for your favorite memes. And 5 of the winners are going to get $100. So that's awesome. And there's going to be big jackpot that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to submit anything in order to qualify for. Only things that you have to have is an active Evizone account. You have to have invited somebody to join Evizone and, just watch the stream. Rest of the instructions, and everything else, all the information is going to be live on the stream. But basically, just for watching the stream, you're going to have a chance to win $600. Do not miss out on that. We're going to go live 4:30 GMT time. So hour and a half before July offers will enter the game. This is one stream that you do not want to miss. Again, I will leave a video link that has all the information all the questions answered that you might have in the description. Check that out 100%. Right, let's get to the actual tier list. So I have updated the tier list, and vast majority of the updates was to reflect with my latest champion ranking videos. So typically all of the top 2, top 3, top 4 champions from each class are listed here. I specifically wanted to remain at top 20 because, as I said, when I created top of the game changes. Champion value goes up and down based on what content currently exists in the game. And you can't have half of the champions be top of the game simultaneously. That will always remain somewhat exclusive club. I had to do some heartbreaking demotions as well. Before we get further, standard disclaimers. This list is a mixture of my personal views of the game and current game relevance and trends. Please do not use this list as a point of argument, but more as a food for thought. Each summoner has different needs and preferences that far outweigh the importance of this list or any other list. Please rank champions that will help you get where you are trying to go, and do not blindly follow these lists. And what I mean by that is, if you need a champion to do your alliance quest easier, rank up that champion. Don't care where he's on this list. If you need a champion, to improve your alliance or defense, rank something up. Don't bother where this exists on the list. If you need a champion to clear some new challenging mode, rank up that champion. Don't worry about this list. Because if you're struggling to explore a piece of content and you invest some resources in a champion that might not be your favorite, but it's going to help you get that piece of content done, well, guess what? You're going to earn those resources back quickly, aren't you, by exploring that piece of content. Either way, the tier list kind of descriptions is just about as it says here. I specifically made the tier list names, as easily understandable as possible. Top of the game means the best of the best champions in the game. Meta means champions that are just below that, champions that we often go to in many, many different circumstances. These are many people's favorite champions, and these are just the champs that we kind of consider staples in our rosters as is. Still a slight step below the best of the best, I would say, but not far behind that. Frequently useful champion, again, just how it sounds. These are champions that might not be as great, as amazing as top of the game champions or meta champions, but they do have a ton of use, a ton of meaning. There is plenty of reasons to rank up these champions, to invest them for either specific things or for general kind of strengthening for your roster. Here is still a ton of value. This is also the highest tier I virtually ever put new champions to the game before they have had the chance to prove it, because that is what meta means. Meta means champions that have already established themselves, champions that are popular. If you're brand new to the game, by definition, you cannot be in the meta, you cannot be at top of the game yet. This is where you start out until you kind of start proving yourself. if you do seem kind of insane on paper, kind of like where I have placed Hulkling, for instance, because, you know, he's a brand new champion. We'll see where he ends up landing. He probably is going to move up. For now, that's exactly where he belongs, in my opinion. And then useful tier, again, just as it says, champions that have their uses, champions that many people like. I myself have ranked up a fair bunch of useful champions in every class. For instance, I have rank 2 War Machine, I have rank 3 Animan Infinity War, I have ranked up obviously Thor Ragnarok, Misty Knight, Massacre, I have Black Cat ranked up, so on and so forth. They are champions that, you know, might not be your daily drivers. These are champions that you might not use every day for every single quest that you bring them in, but still can provide, you know, unique answers for specific puzzles. Like I ranked up Havoc because he's a good champion also, and there are several things that he can cheese in the game. Also because I had to, for instance, specifically answer Dr. Doom on Path 9 in Alliance War, which is, you know, he's one of the, if not the best options for that fight. That kind of describes these champions, where they do get their time to shine, and they also have additionally plenty of uses where they are viable, where they are good for the game. They're definitely worth looking at. But these are typically the champions also that might not necessarily be your first go-tos, that are not must-have staples, that are a bit more niche of a kind of character. So, you know, they are at their element in fairly niche situations, I would say. And then occasionally useful is a step back down from it. Champions that do not necessarily present tremendous amount of value, or hardly any player should feel hard-pressed ranking these champions. There's nothing wrong in enjoying these champions. For instance, I absolutely love Carnage. I enjoy using him whenever I'm not running Liquid Courage Double Edge. Some of the most fun you can have in the game. Similarly, there's Man-Thing. Again, Man-Thing, MD5, incredible amount of fun. And at the moment, he's actually increasing in relevance and usefulness as well, partially thanks to Battlegrounds, but that's primarily defensive aspect value there. But what I'm trying to get to is, these champions, you know, there's nothing kind of like bad. I don't think it's a bad evaluation of them. It's just kind of like with everything in life, there will be people who place first, there will be people who place second and third in a race, and there will be people who place 15th in a race. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't race. It doesn't mean that they don't belong. It just means that somebody has to win and somebody has to come in 20th, and that there will be people ahead of them. It's just a hard fact reality of the life. This is not meant to be as a diss towards any champion. This is just how I see, and the champions in higher tiers are, in my opinion, you know, ahead of these. But again, there is still such thing as personal preference. There's still such thing as that this is a game, and you should, you know, play the champions that you enjoy the most. And again, the fact that the tier is called occasionally useful tier by definition implies that there will be times, there will be occasions that these champions can absolutely shine and, you know, provide you with a great amount of value for your resources and easily earn their catalyst back if you know exactly what you're doing with them. And then the last tier, you know, we don't really talk about it. It's basically the champions that just need help from Kabam, need some buffs, need some upgrades, need some beast synergies or whatever else in order to justify ranking them up. Again, it's a game. If you love how Purgatory looks, for instance, you know, sure, rank up that Purgatory. You know, I'm not going to pretend that, you know, ranking up Scarlet Witch, Sigil, or Dragon Man wouldn't have been a better choice, but again, you like what you like and you play with who you like, and all of that is perfectly fine. Right, so top of the game changes to top of the game. Unfortunately, number one, I demoted Ultron for a bit, because as I said, I want to keep this list at around 20 champions, and now it is exactly 20 champions. I also do think that Nimrod, Warlock, and Ghost are a very, very stable top 3 in tech class at the moment. I do think Ultron and Omega Sentinel currently are a nudge behind them in case of Omega Sentinel, just because maybe she might need more time to prove herself. In case of Ultron, you know, just because there are some disadvantages or areas of the game where he might not be, you know, the optimal choice. All that being said, still a phenomenal champion, still one of my favorite champions in the game, especially for stuff like Act 7 and so on and so forth. Amazing, love it. Don't try to kind of like, oh, you need to reconsider Ultron. I am fully familiar with Ultron. I have made like 15 videos featuring Ultron. Love that guy. Crazy good. I just happen to think that these 3 tech champions are ahead of them. I also moved back Aegon slightly, not because my opinion about Aegon has changed at all. As I said before, these lists also reflect current game trends, current relevance, and one of the biggest cons against Aegon is the way Kabam builds content right now. Whereas in Act 6.1 and especially 6.2, but even in 6.3 and so on and so forth, those quests were longer. We didn't have these attack boosts that helped us blitz through the fights. And in 6.2, some of the parts had like 10, 12 fights on it where you could well ramp up your Aegons easily. Fact of the matter is that now when you're looking at content like Act 7, for instance, there's just no point. Why would you want to go and ramp up Aegon, even though you theoretically could, if you can bring in a champion with higher base damage and blitz through that lane at a higher speed? And that 666 format that Kabam is doing, where you only have 6 fights per, each path, and you only have 6 paths, and then you can swap in something for the boss. And then on top of that, virtually every other lane gives you like a significant 100 to 200% attack increase, if not more at times. Just kind of means that there is not as high of a need for Aegon. And given the fact that you do have to go over that first or second fight that are troublesome, people just choose not to. So I do think his popularity definitely has waned, not to fault of his own, just because of how Kabam creates content right now. Additionally, I have opted to add the top science champions to the top of the game at the moment, Spider-Man 2099 and Mr. Fantastic, obviously for reasons that I covered in their individual ranking videos. At the same time, I do feel that, for instance, Mr. Negative is very, very close to that. I do feel that Captain America Infinity War has slightly lost a step. That's why he has been moved back to top of the game. I also think that Scorpion very, very, very easily could find himself up top here. Scorpion is a promotion that is brand new. This is where I feel at the moment he belongs in the meta already, because the people who have him have absolutely been destroying content with him. I have seen some crazy showcases. I have definitely seen him in some of the, luckiest or whaliest people's Battlegrounds deck when Battlegrounds were active and he was putting in work, and he's definitely already, in my opinion, a force to be reckoned with a potential and room to growth. Possibly the biggest promotion, jumping like additional tier, has been Longshot. So I do think that a lot of people are going to be happy to see Longshot, where a lot of people kind of always saw him. I was somewhat hesitant, but again, I do think that due to recent content, due to the new game mode, due to the fact that he was amazing for Korean challengers, due to the fact that he's kind of becoming more and more popular across the board, he does belong here right now. I think previously I probably should have put him in frequently useful, but this is where we're going to leave him for now. And on top of that, I think the rest of this meta ranking virtually reflects kind of majority of the champions that were in my top 10 list that are absolutely amazing for a multitude of reasons, but don't quite take to the top of the game. Top of the game champions are basically creme de la creme, best of the best, and these are champions that are still insane, are staples, or go-to solutions for our everyday problems, but just not quite as high as up there. Frequently useful, again, just like name implies, champions that still have a ton of potential use. A new promotion here is Ebony Maw. I do think community is kind of starting to come around this champion, starting to use him more and more, not just defensively, but also offensively. So I do kind of feel that this is where he belongs right now. Also, slightly pulled back Colossus from meta, because realistically, I do not think at the moment he's a meta champion for any of the biggest game modes. He wasn't a Battleground stud, he isn't an Alliance War stud, he isn't an Alliance Quest stud. I still think he has a ton of value, ton of utility, just not quite right there. He's, so to speak, not quite in demand at the moment. Again, partially because of the content that we are receiving. And any other additional changes here, Stealth Suit Spider-Man has moved up, primarily because of his synergy with Scorpion, because I do see so much potential in that synergy and applications of it throughout the entire game. Additional reason, again, would be Battlegrounds kind of reinvigorated this champion, but primarily the Scorpion synergy is what decided this promotion. Similarly to Starking Hand Spider-Man, Starking Hand Spider-Man definitely sees much more life breath into him thanks to Battlegrounds. And that is just about it, I think. As I explained, Hulkling, this is about as high as I'm willing to rank a brand new champion that has absolutely not yet proven himself. But I do expect quite good things. I can potentially easily see him moving on to meta or top of the game within a few months down the line. So we're going to keep an eye on that with the next monthly updates. And then in useful tier, do we have any kind of like meaningful changes? Here, I think I did have few updates. Also, Wiccan is currently here. I do think Hulkling has more potential of being, higher up and more in demand in the game. I do see a ton of good things in Wiccan. I love the fact that he has neutralized access to ton of damage over time effects. Obviously, a Mystic champion as well that can benefit from MD at times. There is, albeit situational, but still technically a nullify of Furies like precisions and power gains on his heavy attacks. You know, there are things to enjoy about Wiccan. One thing that no content creators ever mentioned or covered about Wiccan, and that is something that I will definitely discuss in a bit bigger detail when I do my own Wiccan kind of review video, which is coming quite soon, is he is one of the flimsiest champions in the game. He has like one of the 10 lowest health pools in the game, so he's about as squishy as you can get. He has negative physical resistance, you know, virtually no energy resistance as well. He does have obviously ways in the fight how to kind of try and mitigate for it, but in general he is just a victim of horrible stats. Absolute glass cannon in the sense that there is no health pool to fall behind on. And also, yeah, his resistances are in the ditch, especially the physical one. And again, yes, you can put on the spells that increase that, but then and that's additional work, and you know, it will not help you in initial parries and stuff like that. And the fact that you increase these resistances by dashing back and holding block will often involve you, you know, getting hit in a block in many of the aggressive AI situations. And you know, that is just gonna, in my opinion, result in quite a lot of chip damage. And then on top of that, I also think that's going to make him even harder to beat around with Liquid Courage Double Edge, which is already a mastery setup that he doesn't support well at all. So we'll see what happens with Wiccan. There's definitely good things. There's definitely very bad and ugly things that a lot of people just kind of like choose to ignore. So ultimately, we're going to see where he lands. I can see him going either way. I can see him either drifting in obscurity in, you know, in face of Rintrah and Wong, or I can also potentially see him going up higher. By the way, I do think I'm missing Rintrah on this list, so at the moment I'm going to put Rintrah as well, Rintrah and Wong down here in the same spot. There we go. We're going to move another one down. I think I forgot to add the last one's champions. My apologies on that. We're going to put, again, because I haven't seen that much from Rintrah and Wong, but I do, again, fully kind of expect and hope to see some cool stuff from Wong. From Wong, most of the stuff that we have seen at the moment is Alliance for Defense. Rintrah, we have seen some offensive, you know, uses, but I definitely want to see play, hear more about these champions before I feel comfortable moving them higher. So I think that's a fair initial placement. And other than that, there is no major change in science. I have moved Craven up from occasionally useful to useful, and we'll see how he progresses in the game. And perhaps most notably, I moved Agent Venom from the obscurity tier, so he jumped 2 tiers as well into useful tier because of the Scorpion Craven synergy Trinity combo. And I have already seen a few things of him being used here and there for some Alliance War stuff, for a bunch of questing stuff. The fact that it is a Trinity and the fact that it involves Craven does, however, in my opinion, lessen his chances in making higher on this list. I do think that the synergy reliant champions always have a very uphill battle when it comes to becoming relevant. From, you know, one major example from recent years that we have had is Cable, and aside from that, it's pretty much it. Like Spider-Gwen has some major synergies with Penny Parker and somebody else where she can start in with both of her modes active against, you know, Spider-Verse heroes, and you know, she has her max ramp up. But again, just because of who those champions are, doesn't necessarily always guarantee that they're going to immediately jump up, you know, super high. And, you know, we have Ant-Man with Ghost and Sam Wilson Trinity. It's not like we see Ant-Man demolishing all the content. Obviously, eventually there will come a perfect content where they are useful. But, you know, it's not a day-to-day thing. It's not a meta thing. That's why they are exactly right here where they are. Actually, probably should move on. Oh, well, Ant-Man's here. We'll leave them there. And yeah, then again, occasionally useful tier. Plenty of champions that I personally like in the occasionally useful tier. Carnage, one of my favorites. Man-Thing, as I think I mentioned before. So, just because they are here doesn't mean, you know, that you should never pay them any attention or they can't do anything in the game. Far from it. They are some of the most fun, interesting, and unique champions. It's just the fact that they do not land their abilities with the content that exists in the game, like in case of Proxima, or like in case of I don't know, Jubilee and Psylocke, whatever those champions do, there are just champions that do more, better, faster, you know. But it doesn't mean that they are not, you know, alternative options for plenty of problems in the game either. As far as that goes, I don't think I have changed much there. I do think I kind of need to push up Black Panther there as well. I do think Black Panther is undeservedly low, so that is the one last change that I am going to make here. I think Black Panther is better than that, so we're going to leave it here. And other than that, I'm perfectly fine with everybody else around here. So that is pretty much it. Finally, obviously, for champions that do not exist in a game of 6 stars, there's a special small list below. I will leave a link to the tier list in the description, as I always do. But this is thereabouts how I currently see the game. And again, do not forget about the stream tomorrow. You can win, you know, $100 or you can win $600. In total, we're going to be giving away over $1,000 for July offer. So that's going to be a huge, huge stream. 4:30 p.m. GMT. Do not miss out. But that is just about it for today. And I'm going to catch you guys later. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about